Let's talk about some of the best and worst pipelines and how to use them to your advantage in college football 25. I'm sure you guys already know, but pipelines play such an important role in y'all dynasty when it comes to recruiting. Unfortunately, we don't have dynamic pipelines. That's something I hope for in the future. So there it is. Not a good way to change your pipelines in this game. There is one way, but it's a little bit difficult to unlock. If y'all enjoy the content, make sure I like, comment, subscribe, check out my Twitch, check out my Instagram, social medias. I am looking for some users for my online dynasty. We had a couple people leave. We are in year 2. It's the 32 user online dynasty. DM me on Instagram if y'all want to join. So if you come in here to program builder and come over here to relationship builder, then also strong roots, these are going to be your only ways to upgrade your pipelines. But this is difficult to unlock, man. You have to go to a playoffs and you have to win 5 playoff games to unlock this program builder. And then you also have to save up enough points, enough coach coins to even unlock this. So it's fairly difficult, but unfortunately this is the only way to actually change pipelines in this game. So it's important to understand pipelines in this game and especially how to use them to your advantage, man. There's going to be times where your school is at a complete disadvantage against another school because they have a better pipeline. And also, we have a couple lists that's going to show you pretty much where your school ranks on the pipeline list, whether it's a school you rebuild now, you want to rebuild. And then we also have a tier list for every single pipeline. So you got the Atlanta pipeline, you got your Texas pipelines. Those pipelines are going to be all the way up here compared to, New Mexico or, some of the smaller states that don't produce as much talent. So it's just a good thing to understand that those pipelines are not equal. So it also matters what pipelines you pick for your head coach and then also who you hire for your offense and defensive coordinator. So you may want to hire one of the Texas pipelines for your offense coordinator, and maybe even for your defensive coordinator, you want to go Big Apple, something in that ballpark. The pipeline boost for the coaches, I think, is small, but it certainly is a boost. I think it's just small at times. So first, shout out to Always Be Crutin on Reddit. He dropped a couple bangers, and it has some pretty good information on pipelines, and then also pretty much outlining each school pipelines. Unfortunately, it's not in college football 25. If you hop on the game, go play, they will not tell you what school or what pipelines your school have. You have to go to Reddit to figure out, which I think is not ideal at all. But here we're able to actually see, and it goes school by school, conference by conference. If we start here with the ACC, you're kind of able to see every single school pipeline. So you look over to the right, you can see a legend that color codes every single pipeline. So tier 1 is going to be this brown, tier 2 silver, tier 3 gold, tier 4 blue, tier 5 is going to be that purple, pink, whatever color you want to call that. And that's pretty much going to be the pipelines. And you come back over here, you're kind of actually able to see every single school and every pipeline that they have. So the most the most pipelines a school could have is going to be 10. And every school don't have 10. We'll get to, some of the smaller conferences, smaller schools, they will not have 10 pipelines like you see, some of these programs having. And you look at Clemson and you're able to see that they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tier 5 pipelines, which is obviously elite. We don't see any other school in this ACC with more than 2, so they're clearly at a big advantage. And then they also have the 2 gold pipelines. They are clearly at a big advantage. And you look at the actual pipelines that they have, Metro Atlantic, and then also South California, Alabama, some of the top tier pipelines. And we'll actually go over the list after this, the pipeline list, pretty much ranking every single pipeline. I kind of explained it earlier. You go down here to the Sun Belt Conference and you see a school like Troy, they only have 5 pipelines in total. UL Monroe only have 8. James Madison, new school to the FBS, they only have 6. And some of these schools only having 1 tier 2 pipeline is crazy. Unfortunately, in this game, the pipelines cannot improve without you absolutely going crazy with your head coach. And I think that's not great. I don't like the way that works. I think we could do a little bit better with that for sure. But you'll see with a lot of these smaller schools that the idea of the game, they want to keep the smaller schools small. And my whole thing is like, well, isn't that the point of a rebuild? You want to build them up into being a powerhouse. And this whole thing with the pipelines not changing is to keep the schools being a small school. And you look here at this SEC pipeline. You got some heavy hitters here. Alabama with the 5 tier. Georgia in there, and they got a lot of good pipelines. Florida, Atlantic, the whole Georgia is just a great pipeline to have. But yeah, you're kind of just able to see some of the schools that really dominates. And then Vanderbilt, they doing Vanderbilt dirty. They don't have a 4-tier pipeline. And then the American might have the worst pipelines. It's just a lot of brown on my screen, man. Just a lot of brown hair. I'll leave the link down below. But this is a good tool to use when you're going in to decide what school you want to pick for your dynasty. Take a look at this. See what pipelines they're going to have. It'll kind of just let you know what you're getting yourself into recruiting wise. But like I said, I'll leave this link down below. I'm not going to go over every single conference, every single school. I'll let y'all do that. Once again, shout out to Always Be Recruiting. I read this whole thing, so y'all don't have to. I'm going to pretty much sum it up. He ran a test, and the test pretty much determined what pipelines were the best when it comes to having the most talent and then also having the most high level talent. So it's kind of just summing up the test he ran here. And so obviously, some of the major cities in real life, or major states really, Texas, Florida, California, Georgia, some of those areas producing the most talent. And it's good to see that's represented in this game. So the East Texas, North Texas is going to be your best 2 pipelines in the game. East Texas taking in that #1 spot. You got the Central Florida, South California. You got Metro Atlantic in there as well. Continue to scroll down. The Big Apple. The Big Apple is going to be, I believe, 2 states. I believe it's going to be New York and then also New Jersey, all in that Big Apple pipeline, which is pretty cool to see. Then you get to Ohio, you got Alabama, Louisiana, and you kind of just able to see how good some of these pipelines. But you see here, like this is 0.455. The difference between the #1 pipeline and the #25 pipeline is a big difference. That is a huge difference. So just keep that in mind. You get all the way down here to New Mexico, which is obviously not a very good pipeline, man. Not many recruits are coming out there in real life and is accurate in the game. Hawaii even, I would expect Hawaii to be all the way down here as well. So he also went on to rank every single school and where their pipeline puts them in the ranking. So Alabama is #1 when it comes to recruiting. They're going to have the best pipeline. Sorry if this is a little bright. It is bright, but y'all be okay, man. Y'all be okay. But Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, and then A&M, LSU kind of making out your top 6 when it comes to just the best schools with the best pipelines. Even seeing like a school like Army in here ranked #34 is, you wouldn't really expect them to be ranked higher than Missouri, but it makes sense when their pipelines is, Texas, both of the Texas, and we know they're ranked 1 and 2. They also got Atlanta, Florida, California, and this is all considering, whether it's a 1-tier, 2-tier, 3-tier, whatever pipeline tier that they have, and then also, how valuable that pipeline is. So kind of considering a bunch of different factors. And then looking at page 2, you gotta, some surprising things here, especially when you consider, Rice is up here. But, when you think about it, it actually makes sense because they got the 2 best Texas pipelines. And then, that checks out. And so a lot of these Texas schools are going to be up here, Colorado down here as well. Let's look at the next page. And then this is going to be 71 through 105. Where's Temple? Where's my, my alma mater? If y'all haven't seen the Temple rebuild, go check it out. We're going crazy having the ball with it. But Cincinnati in here with a 5-tier pipeline, but it's Ohio, so it's I guess it's not as valuable. New Mexico State in here at 105, UL Monroe. Damn, man, my Owls are all the way on the last page. We're ranked 106th when it comes to all the pipelines, and, it makes sense. It makes sense, but I just don't agree with the part that they can never change. Like, we are, if y'all know anything about the Temple series, we are a good team. We're competing for the playoffs every single year, and yeah, our pipelines are still 106th in the nation. Yeah, our in-state pipeline is still only silver. I would disagree. I would disagree at that point. I think it should be able to improve. But you're able to see that Kennesaw State has the worst pipelines, which makes sense because they are, a brand new school to FBS. Sam Houston in here as well, pretty low. So you kind of just able to see where your school actually ranks when it comes to the pipelines. So the next thing is, how do you apply that to the game? How do you apply this information to this game? So let me help you out with that portion. So we got a recruit here. We are Georgia. First of all, we're in the top 5 teams with the best pipelines in the game. And we're going up against Florida State and Miami for a Florida recruit. And you're telling me that Georgia has a better Florida pipeline than 2 Florida schools. I'm not sure if I would agree with that. Not sure if I would agree with that in real life, but this is what's happening in this situation. So what we know is us as Georgia, we're in complete control. We're in first place to start off, and then we also have the pipeline advantage against every other school on the list. No other school has a 5-tier pipeline. No other school has a 4-tier pipeline. The next highest is 3. And from my experience, the 4 and 5-tier pipeline seems like such big jump compared to the 3 and belows. If you have a 4 or 5 pipeline, especially that 5 pipeline, you are able to get a recruit super fast. They will commit, week 4. That's how you kind of get them week 4 commits, week 5, and some things like that. The commitments go super fast from my experience, especially when you're already on their top 5, number 1 in the situation. So what we know, if we put in 50 hours and let's say Florida State and Miami also put in 50 hours, the entire recruitment, never even hard selling, just doing the center house 50 hours, we will get this recruit just off the fact that we have the pipeline boost. So we're going to gain more influence every single week. So, one thing to understand, I'm sure a lot of y'all already get that concept, but, it's useful to know. So when you're the smaller school and, in this situation, when you are the Ohio State and you're going up against, 9-10 other schools that have the pipeline advantage, in this situation Ohio State has no pipeline advantage, no pipeline at all for this player. It's an uphill battle. Ohio State, if I'm the Ohio State user, I gotta know that if other schools put in hours and I put in hours, if we put in the same amount of hours, I would never be able to get that guy, unless my hard sell grades are better than other schools and other schools don't hard sell. So what you got to do is, you got to find an advantage, and that might be a visit, or that might be the hard sell, something along them lines, even during the complimentary visit to get an extra boost. So the pipelines could play a big factor in just recruiting, and, I'm going to keep mentioning it. I wish the pipelines could change in this game, but we got to work with how the game was made. Feel free to let me know down in the comments how y'all feel. Any more tips, tricks, whatever about pipelines, let me know down below and let's talk about it. If this video was at all useful to you, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, man. Appreciate y'all for watching. Click the video on the screen now for my temple rebuild.